different from policing.
This is the
we all know
point.
that. But Scott, I know you were going to say something. Scott was going to say something.
On the masks, I actually interviewed the director of ICE today, Todd Lyons, on my radio show for about 20 minutes. I asked him point blank about the masks. I said, what is the situation with the masks? Why is it happening? What is your observation? He said, I don't like the masks. I wish we didn't have to do the masks. He said, back in March, we weren't. But then something changed. And what changed was people started doxing these ICE agents, posting their personal information, posting where their families are, posting where their kids' schools are, putting them and their families in jeopardy. And he doesn't want them to have to do it.
That is a risk that every law enforcement officer in this country faces. Everyone.
You think they deserve, you think they should face that
risk? Listen, I'm not saying that that is right. I'm not saying that is good. It's terrible. No one should be doxxed. No one's families should be brought into their work. But what I am saying is that there are beat officers in this country, in every city in America, who are doing their jobs in extremely dangerous situations, and they show their face. Why? Because they work for the people. That is the reason. So the argument here is that's a risk that you take when you take on this responsibility of having law enforcement power in this country, because the accountability is between you and the people.
Yeah, well, I don't agree that law enforcement officers in any agency should have to face the risk of their family being assaulted or themselves.
I don't agree with that either, but I do think that the accountability piece of it cannot be ignored.
Do you think that there should not be accountability? They're always the persecutor and then the victim.
Law enforcement, regardless of what agency they represent.
Of course there should be accountability, and I agree with you about the relationship between policing agencies and the community. Unfortunately, in this case, certain people in our community have decided to take matters in their own hands. I heard a clip today of a congressman named John Larson from Minnesota screaming into a microphone, "This is Nazi Germany, they're the Gestapo." What do you think that does to radicalize people? That is irresponsible, and it's not the fault of an ICE agent for that kind of rhetoric to be in our system.
Everybody's missing the point here. The point is he's doing this on purpose. He's priming the public to get accustomed to having the military in the streets. He's priming you to have distrust in the rule of law. He himself is a convicted felon. He opposes the rule of law, and we know this because he pardoned people that beat up cops on January 6th. Meanwhile, this guy, this should be the lead story, is clearly suffering from massive mental decline. He is out of his mind with all of the show and tell procedures that go on in the Oval Office. 2 days ago, he gave 3 press conferences in a row. And if you don't think he has dementia, let's just discuss the time that when he was on the campaign trail that he tried to perform oral sex on a microphone. If Joe Biden did this,
I hope this is what Democrats do next year.
ER.
If this is the Democratic strategy, congratulations, America. You've already reelected Republican majorities as far as the eye can see.
Yeah, because Trump's approval is in the low 30s. It's in the low 30s right now.
Coming up next.
So the whole mask thing, you know, Scott mentioned he talked to ICE, head ICE official, I can't remember, on his radio show. And what that guy said echoes exactly how I feel. I don't want law enforcement wearing masks. That's not ideal. Everything they're saying about community connection is valid. But here's the reality. Democrats, with their incendiary rhetoric, have encouraged riots and attacks on police. That's why ICE agents and federal troops have to wear masks. Then Abby says, well, that's a risk you take when you sign up for the job. Really? Nobody should have their family dragged into their work. And by putting on masks, that fixes the problem. So let me see if I understand Abby's logic, that showing their faces is more important than protecting their families' lives. There's no way to twist this. Safety comes first. ICE agents and federal troops are just human beings trying to keep communities safe. And they're doing the same thing I think we talked about yesterday, painting federal troops as the enemy when all they're doing is protecting honest people. And then we got the lady sitting next to Scott Jennings. She looks familiar. We already did a video on her 2-3 weeks ago when she went on a racist tirade against MAGA and white people. Let's be real. If you're a white liberal Karen and someone disagrees with you, especially if you voted for Donald Trump, you're automatically the devil. That's how she sees the world. She even said Trump is in mental decline and used as proof some moment from the campaign trail where he leaned into a microphone. Her claim was he was simulating oral sex. It's insane. Everyone knew that he was joking about the volume of the mic. Even it was MSNBC or CNN, I can't remember which, had to walk back that nonsense because they hadn't even watched the whole video in context. That's her evidence of mental decline. That is ridiculous. Like, she's not just wrong, she's desperate.